Welcome everyone to this episode of Collective Wisdom. We have a treat today. Brandon runs a LinkedIn growth agency. So he basically spends all of his time obsessing over how to help brands drive pipeline on LinkedIn. And he has a really interesting playbook in the way that it's not as spammy or numbers based as some of the other ones out there. And it's also just more effective. And he's seen some really interesting results. So he's agreed to pull back the curtain and share it all with us here today, which is going to be super exciting. And then we'll open up at the end for questions. But with that being said, Brandon, I'm excited. I'll hand it over to you.
Cool, sweet. You want to give me screen share access?
Oh yeah.
And I can post it. Yeah, so this is pretty tactical. So my goal is just kind of show examples, like literally dig into our playbook, show examples of stuff that we've run before. And it's like working. So some of this is like, ad spend and stuff too. So I think that was, this is the group to cover that. So please jump in if you have questions too. I can fly through some of the stuff. There's tons of slides. This is kind of like our typical playbook, a lot of what we run through. And if you have questions, jump in. Otherwise, I'll save a bunch of time at the end. We can just kind of jam on it because more fun to ask questions in the Q&A. And some of the stuff too is going to be somewhat high level, and then we'll go deep too. So we've spent the past probably 6 months to a year just focusing on LinkedIn. So we all come from demand gen backgrounds. And as we all know, LinkedIn, if you've seen it, LinkedIn is a powerful place for us to be able to make connections. And the more time we've spent on it, the more we've started realizing how powerful it can be. And then now we've started bringing on clients, and the clients are starting to win. And so it's just like, I feel like it's kind of a whole new world of like the social selling mixed with LinkedIn. So usually what we tell people, it's like our goal is not to do the spammy. So if you're looking at the like pitch slap, we call it, you get the intro, the connection request, and 30 seconds later, it's like, hey, can you get on a call for 15 minutes? Like that's not what we believe. It's how do you build authentic connections with people on LinkedIn? How do you try to not be a robot and not just make it look like you're automating everything? But the tricky part then is how do you do that at scale? And how do you automate that? So some of those things I'll get into. But in general, I usually tell people like the goal is generally like tell people what you do, build trust, and remind them you exist. Just do it like over and over and over again. So power of LinkedIn, just some quick stats on what we've been doing the past 90 days. Adding crazy amount of top of funnel growth for ourselves and clients, 6 figures in LTV for ourselves plus clients. And then I think this is the true power, just to highlight it quickly, and then we'll get into the details. I only have 2,470 followers. Like that's not many at all, but I've closed about $50,000 in deals. So that's like running the playbook that you'll see. You don't have to have 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 followers. It probably helps. When I get there, I'll tell you, and some of you I haven't looked, some of you may have 50,000 followers. You might be like, yeah, I have inbound deals constantly through LinkedIn. I think that's the ultimate goal and what we all want to get to. But I think the point is like anyone can kind of start, and if you do the right tactics and get in front of the right people, it can make sense. So what do we do at a high level? And then I'll go through kind of these like in detail. So there's more than just the work of like post some posts and connect with people. We like to be very disciplined about it, and we've kind of refined this playbook. And I have actually like a full playbook I'll share at the end that you guys, everyone can go and use, and it's free, and you can share and look at it. And there's way more resources in there. But the gist is make sure you get your profile right. Your profile is your landing page. Your profile is the place that everyone's going to go and check you out to see what do you do, how can you help them, and then call to actions. And I'll go through some specifics on those. Build lists with intent. I think everyone on this call probably understands what that means. And then we go into like, what are the actual tactics? So we're calling it the 2020-21. It's not that good of a name. That's what we've been calling it. It's pretty much 20 new connections a day, 20 comments a day, 20 DMs a day, and 1 post a day. I can tell you the 1 post a day is very hard. I don't even keep up with it. But that's like the goal. That's the dream. Like if you can do those things, you're going to meet people. And you're going to start turning those conversations ideally into some actual leads. and then engaging, like, then continuing engaging on those things. So our goal, like LinkedIn only lets you do, is probably a bunch of LinkedIn like limits the connection requests, it limits the DM. So what you want to do, you want to make sure that you have the highest probability that any of the connections you have will lead to an actual conversation. And we also want to be able to maximize our outreach. Like, how do we maximize it at scale? So we're connecting with the right people, we're having the right conversations, versus sort of like I think you have the example, sort of like just do a quick search for VP of HR and just fly through and click connect. That's not really what we want to do. If you've used like Phantom Buster, which I would highly recommend using something like Phantom Buster, I have some other tool examples too on what to use, use them. But the goal is, how do you make sure that you have the highest intent for the people that you're going to connect with? And some of it's just making sure that they're online. Like, there's millions of people on LinkedIn, but you want to also make sure that they're actually active online. Otherwise, you're going to send a connection request, say you're 20 connection requests, but maybe only 10 of them a day are actually on that often. So you're kind of blow your 10, potentially blow a few of those on people who aren't even on LinkedIn. So I saw the attendee list, and I was going to run through and see if I could find anyone who had good profiles, but I didn't end up having time. But if you haven't, I'm assuming most of you are probably active on LinkedIn, or you're starting to put your profiles together, you're starting to do some outreach. I'm going to fly through these because I think there's more fun stuff later. If you have more questions on these, I'm happy to jump into them. But the main thing for your profiles, some of these are clients. Main thing that you want to do for your profile is just make sure you have a good position and make sure you have a good call to action. So, you can see these are some of the ones that we've done just to make it clear, what do you do for your header image? And then why would I actually connect with a person? What's in it for me? And that's kind of the theme through most of your profile. And there's some interesting places that you may not have seen that we like to use. So if you're not using the custom button, there's actually 2 custom buttons. LinkedIn released a new custom button. So one custom button, if you've seen it, I actually didn't grab a screenshot of it. One you maybe have seen it in the feeds now if you're using LinkedIn, where it'll say book a meeting or visit my website. So you can either use that one, or you can use the one in your profile, which is you actually get to put whatever words you want in. So steal our LinkedIn Playbook, and it links over to our free Playbook. This is the one that I've liked because you go to profile and it's the top thing to see, to give a call to action and control. And then the other ones is your headline. So you want to make sure that your headline, you only have a few words, about 10 words, to make sure that people understand and that what you do. And these are kind of the things where you just highlight, make sure these are important. So this, random guy that said he's the best VA you'll ever need, that's actually a really good position. I get it, what he's going to do for me. So pay attention to those first 10 words, because that shows up in the search. It shows up when you leave a comment. It shows up when you leave a message. And that's usually what people are glancing at. Is your picture good? Does it make sense, whatever you do? And they can kind of sniff through the BS. The featured section is probably the best one you can use. So the best section you have control over for a call to action. So, these don't have to link to posts. Usually what people do, they'll go and they'll grab one of their popular posts and they'll say feature it, because it's easy to say feature this post, and it shows up in their featured section. What I would suggest would maybe do one of those if you have a high converting post, a post that you've done with a good hook, a good CTA, maybe do that. But otherwise, grab a good picture. Like this guy, Jasmine, his stuff is great too. You should follow him. He has a great example. He's broken down exactly what you can do with him. These are Calendly, and then I've seen some other people do Gumroad, where they're posting pay $10 for my playbook or $100 for my playbook. These are great call to actions, especially if you do just a book a call. And you can have multiple of these. Usually I suggest 1 or 2. This guy's one of the top LinkedIn people at the moment, so he can have more. The other one that I love that most people don't notice is within your experience. So when you're scrolling down, again, the call, these actually do matter. These call to actions kind of do matter, because you go to someone's profile and then, it's interesting, and you just want every opportunity, just as we all know, as growth people, it's you want every opportunity for people to see what the next step is. So someone's throwing down your experience. He does a fantastic job here of doing his experience for doing a call out on apply now. You can do a little image and then a link. We did one on the right here, which is like, steal our LinkedIn playbook. The other like pro tip is you can actually create multiple companies. Like it makes sense to create multiple companies for if you have specific products, or like if you have a podcast, or if you have something that is sort of extra, create a separate company for it. Like no one cares. Like create a separate company for it, and then put a media link on it in your experience. As you scroll down, you see, he has his other two products that he's just trying to sell. They just link to Gumroad, I think. And then finally, just make sure you're positioned well with your about section. So building your audience. So this is kind of where you like, again, I think a lot of the stuff we know, it's like we want intent, we want people to make sure that they have a reason. So jumping into some specifics. So like LinkedIn has events, they have groups, hiring for specific roles, just places that you want to go to be able to find intent. So it's not just the mass, like just the title outreach, like HR, like a VP of HR, and you start connecting. Can you find an HR, a company that's hiring for a role that you maybe want to connect with, and then you go and find the VP and you have a conversation. I actually have an example of that one later. Recent executive changes, and I'll just do some examples. Talk about competitors. So there's like so many opportunities. Sky's the limit. So these are some fun ones. Events are a great one. So for example, this is our event right now. So anyone who joined, you have the list of people who have an intent of probably wanting to either be around growth marketing or learn about growth marketing. So if you're trying to sell to growth marketers, go find all the growth marketing events and connect with the people. One, it shows that they're active on LinkedIn because they obviously took the time to accept the invite or to join. And two, they have an intent of something that they're joining. The cool thing is once you open the event list up, you can filter it more. So this is the search, just a typical search. So I click the LinkedIn Growth Playbook, United States. I can do secondary connections, so I have a higher probability that someone's going to accept my invite versus third. And then you can go crazy with like titles and stuff within searches. So some events have like 100,000 attendees, so you would probably want to filter those down. Steal someone else's audience. This is one I think I have a campaign running right now for this one on someone that has a similar like LinkedIn space. So here we're going to steal Eric's followers. Typically, you want to limit it to second connections again, so you know that they have a higher probability that they're going to accept your connection request versus third. Followers of, you type in the follower. And this is all without Sales Navigator. So I'm going to get into Sales Navigator in a second. But this is just kind of your typical search. But again, the idea is like, how do you go and find intent? And then you use something like Phantom Buster to scrape this, and you can build messaging around it, campaigns around it. And then these are some more advanced ones, but I would say if you don't have Sales Navigator, I would suggest probably getting Sales Navigator. The engagement piece I'm going to cover here in a minute is actually it's hard to do without Sales Navigator, but Sales Navigator lets you do more advanced searches within accounts. So typically we actually will start with an account and then work into our leads. So our account we would maybe find. So this is the example I think we did recently, which was like we're going to find a company that's growing. So they have higher than 10% growth rate, headcount rate. And then we build accounts around that. We'd go much more detailed on like who we're going after, the industry. And then we would go into finding the actual lead on that. So in Sales Navigator, you would build your account, you'd save it, and then you'd come over and do current company. And then so I built this, kind of fake Brandon's account list. So now I've limited all of my leads. I'm in the lead section. I've limited all my leads to just those accounts. So I might build an account list of 20, 30 accounts that I know need the thing I have. Based on stats within the company, something happening with the company, fundraising in the news, headcount growth or decline. And then I build those counts and I move them over to leads, build an account list, and then I build a lead list. So now I have my lead list. The things to highlight, usually you're sticking with second degree connections. I've said that a few times, but third degree connections, it's harder to get people to automatically click the connect button because they don't trust you because you don't have anyone connected with. If like, for example, here, this Ian guy, I'm connected with 48 mutual connections. It's a lot easier for him to be like, oh, we probably have a lot of people in common. I'm going to accept the connection request. The other one too, which is kind of hidden in Sales Navigator, you can't get this anywhere else, which is the posted on LinkedIn. So this one's going to limit your list to people who post on LinkedIn. And the reason that's important is because those people are on LinkedIn. So that means they have a higher chance that they're going to be on LinkedIn. You can start a conversation, you can talk to them. And you can engage with their stuff, which is important, which I'll get into. And they get created. This was like, our super. We did this one recently. This one's super advanced. It was like we went and found leads that had just changed jobs that were an entry level manager. We then went and scraped all their companies, turned those into accounts, and then went back to the leads and found the chief people officers, because at the end of the day, all we wanted to be able to do was say, hey, we noticed you hired Devin at your company recently. We do manager training. As we do manager training, we'd love to see if we can offer you a free seat for manager training. Like, that was kind of literally what we wanted to be able to say as a personalized message. So it was like working backwards to figure out how to be able to say something like that. So it can get very, very complicated. All right, so let's sort of jump through. So now you have the connection request. I won't get too far into it, but connection request, I would test two things. One is test it with a message, test without a message. I usually like if your headline looks good and your picture looks fine and like you look like a person that is generally in my industry, I'm going to click connect. Like if you don't look like that, I'm probably not going to click connect. So test without a message. And then if you do a message, keep it super simple. Like, you've probably gotten those ones on LinkedIn that are really long and like try to convince you that you should connect. Like, honestly, just make it authentic. Like, I was flying through LinkedIn, I saw Jess on there. I'm gonna accept the connection request. Like, throw a connection request. The one that's actually worked well for me, and I've scaled this one, which is just, I literally say fellow founder, and I did a list of like founders, and they followed certain people, and it seems authentic. And this had one has a bunch of has been my highest kind of connect rate and response rate. So I think my follow message with that one is like, we have to be crazy to be founders or something, so it kind of like builds this rapport of, if you're a founder, you're probably have something wrong with you. So then DM. So kind of put it all together. So you build your list, connection request, and then the DM strategy. Again, we don't want to do which is like the pitch slap. So you don't want to go straight into a pitch. The thing that's worked the best is, and it's in the next slide. The thing that's worked the best is honestly just telling people what we do, and it works so well with our clients. So we just like have a simple way of explaining what we do, and it's just, hey, we're here to help. And that honestly leads to so many conversations just that way, like because people are almost surprised that you're not pitching them right away. And it's scalable too, to a point. So, if you know that you have some type of intent, if you can personalize some type of icebreaker, which is always helpful, especially, and I'm not going to get into it on this one, but like, ChatGPT or some type of AI. And then you just do a quick intro. Hey, this is what I do. I'm around if you ever need some help. And that's it. And then you like literally don't follow up for a while. And just one thing to note for the DMs, that DMs are where sales happen. Everything else is where trust is built. So if I'm commenting on your post, if I'm posting, the DMs are where the conversations actually lead to, like, let's take this offline. So keep that in mind when it's easy to kind of like brush the DMs aside on, like, I'm commenting on stuff, I'm doing posts, but you actually need to start DMing people, because that's where you're going to start the conversations to get people to be like, hey, let's hop off, and actually start a conversation. So this example, this is the one I actually ran for a while. I might still be running this campaign. This actually led, so David, he's our client now. The Swarm, which I think the Swarm is actually, I think Olivier's presenting at some point with the Domain Collective to this is literally our intro. So this is, I sent this to a lot of people. So I'm just like, hey, I'm 5X tech founder. You can see I've kept this super short, try to make it seem like I pseudo wrote it quickly for them. It's not like literally, sometimes I'll throw in mistakes on purpose, like my typing. And then it's just, hey, I'm looking for to keep on progress, and let me know if I can ever help. So this has happened multiple times. This is just an example, but they then go check out the profile, because they're like, oh, I actually need help with this thing, and then it leads them to my call to actions that I have on my profile. So it's very easy on my profile, and it's like, oh, he does LinkedIn growth, and I'm going to click on the playbook, and then it leads down the funnel, like exactly what happened with David. And then here's an example of like the structure, I think, of this campaign. No, this is a different campaign. But so we use a tool called Limlist. There's lots of tools out there. We like Limlist because it's pretty easy to use, but can still kind of get advanced. And they're building stuff like crazy. I think they're just moving fast. Good community. So the campaign that we built is pretty much, this is kind of typical. So it's like visit a profile, invite. There's either a message, we're either testing a message or testing no message, like a super basic message, like the fellow founder kind of thing. And then if they accept within a certain amount of days, it's going to continue the conversation on LinkedIn. This one specifically, if they don't accept, we send some, they're almost LinkedIn-esque emails. I actually don't think I've shown examples, LinkedIn-esque emails that follow up. They're just like, hey, thought we could help. Saw you on LinkedIn, but I know LinkedIn, can be hit or miss. So, and it's literally just basic, like, again, same thing, like just doing a quick intro. But otherwise, you can see we only send one, like the message. I think this message is like the quick intro message. And then I think we do a follow-up one, which is like providing value. Like, oh, hey, I actually saw your, you lead a sales team. Thought you might like this playbook. And that's the end of it. That's sort of our hit, like our hits. And then otherwise, other examples like DM. So like you kind of need to make a reason to DM. So if you're like showing up every day and you're like, I need to send 20 DMs, hey, go to the celebration section in LinkedIn, start sending people congratulations. The goal is like hype people up. That's a lot of times what works. And you just want to stay top of mind. So people remember like, oh yeah, Brandon keeps reaching out to me. Just I know what he does. He's just positioned himself well. Always good to like ask a question if you can keep the conversation going just in any DMs. So it's not just like, hey, happy birthday, and it's the end. Ideally it's like, what are you doing for your birthday? Are you celebrating? Or like, how do you keep the conversation going? This is another fun test that we've been doing. It's been working well. So Jared, another call, my partner, co-founder. We've been running a personalized video. So we found before, if we do like audits, and you guys probably tried these before, it's like you do an audit of someone's actual profile. It's important that they see their own face. So the screen's it's tiny, but like I see my own profile in there. So if I get this message, I see that he's taking the time to actually like open my profile and give me a quick audit. So far these have had like 50% plus response rate of some sort, and have been working. And then we're actually testing on like scale because they take a long time to create. We actually test on scale. If anyone's used video, it's been great. It just kind of it'll replace the image. Where you pretty much give it 2 URLs and it'll automatically create the video for you. So you record one video, kind of make it seem personal, but you don't actually use anyone's name. And then it replaces the screens. It'll replace the screen with like, you can use anything, but we use their LinkedIn profile and we use their website. And it feels like it's like naturally switching back and forth. And it's super cool. So if you haven't checked out, we've been liking that because we kind of do it at scale at that point. So it feels personal. Until everyone uses video and then they know it's video. That's the only problem with some of these. All of a sudden, like everyone uses like, oh, okay, yeah, that's just same tool we're all using. And then this is a fun one too, just the reverse pitch. So if you're DMing when people are connecting with you, if they don't pitch you, it's always fun to like pitch them back when they connect with you. Even if they do pitch you, like I've gotten work from people sending terrible outbound messages on LinkedIn, and then I respond and say, this is a terrible outbound message on LinkedIn. You should look at us. And I've gotten calls from that too. So that's always fun. And then just get creative. Like Sales Nav has a lot of ability to do super detailed ones. So like this, we do a lot of like existing networks. So this is where the nurturing comes in play. So we send a, hey, this is what we do message. We follow up with some value. Hey, here's a playbook. Here, like I have a free seed. I'm doing a webinar, like whatever, you're providing some type of value. And then you want to keep doing that with people, like have your CRM, create a list, and then find opportunities to reach out to them. So this is, just a basic example of like somebody's changed job recently. There's another place to do that too, but you could also just say like, it's been a few months. I want to send all the people who are head of HR. Benefit season is coming up for the head of HR. I sell the head of HR. I'm going to send out like a checklist of what to do for in benefit season. Like I just constantly think about it, and you're already connected with them, so you kind of send a message. You want to make it seem personal, and just keep the conversation going. All right, then we're getting to commenting. So this is probably the hardest one to do to stay engaged, but the most important. So the DMing is good, and then commenting. Ideally, if you can engage with someone's profile before you even send a connection request, that's kind of where the magic happens. And we're testing that now with a bunch of our clients. It's working really well. So we'll actually create a list of whatever our kind of target prospects are. We'll build, and I'll show you here in LinkedIn Sales Navigator. We'll build a list, and then we'll engage with their content for a week or two beforehand and get comments. And so then when we send the connection request, it comes from a place of like, oh, it just seemed natural. Like, oh, I like your content. We've been commenting on stuff. In general, when you're commenting, don't just do like your post. People don't really see those. Try not to just do like great post. And I have a bunch of like templates and stuff. So here's how to do the like use Sales Navigator to organize your engagement. And you may this is where I think Sales Navigator is actually worth it. They also have a lot of work to do to make it better, but it's better, it's better than kind of mindlessly scrolling your feed. Typically what people do is like they show up to your LinkedIn feed and you're just sitting there scrolling. You're hoping that you want to find someone's post of like a prospect. The problem is LinkedIn's algorithm just shows you all like the good stuff. So you find a post that is from an influencer, and the influencer has 100 comments. And if you comment on the influencer's stuff, they're not going to see it. Doesn't really matter. So let's like focus on people who only have 10 comments on their posts. So here's an example of Olivier at the Swarm. I would go, save in Sales Navigator down here. And then you can build lists within Sales Navigator. If you haven't seen this yet, you can build lists in Sales Navigator, and it's not the best. It takes some work, but once you build these lists, you can then filter in Sales Navigator. You can filter your home feed by those lists. So this is kind of where the magic starts happening. So if you have, let's say 200, like a target of 200 leads, you put them in a list, and if you found the people who are active on LinkedIn, your second connections, you start having this feed end up being a place where you can go that you don't get distracted by LinkedIn. you can stay focused and disciplined on actually commenting and engaging on your prospects, which is sort of the job. It's kind of the job of what we want to do. So then you can kind of see, we can filter by list. Here's an example of lists. And then you can go as deep as like, here's another place to do the career changes, if they're in the news. And then they have like suggested leads and stuff too. And again, try and find posts that have like less than 10 comments. Once you start getting more and more, a lot of times people won't notice them. If you get like 20, 30, 40 comments, they won't necessarily notice them. But someone who posts and they have, most people only have 2 or 3 comments. They only have 3 or 4. So if you have a prospect and you comment on one of their posts that they took time to actually write, LinkedIn will show them your face a bunch of times and be like, hey, Ben commented on your post, you're staying top of mind. And then what do you say? There's lots of templates out there. I would suggest kind of like having a rhythm of kind of what you say, so you don't have to, because it's hard to do 20 comments a day. And we do this for clients too. So we're doing hundreds of comments a day for clients, and it's really hard to come up with stuff. So we try and create templates. I'll share a link to the playbook. We have a bunch of templates and stuff, but the goal is just not to say like great post. You want to try and write a comment that leads to more comments. That's always the goal. Asking a question or challenging something, providing more value to it. But you want to keep the conversation going within the comments. And actually, what happens a lot of times, you do that, and then the person will send you the connection request, which is even better. Like you comment on their stuff, and then they'll send you their connection request. You're like, oh, I didn't have to waste one of my connection requests. And we also built a AI button where it's if you want to use it, Chrome extension, it's pretty much free. It's connected to ChatGPT. We built this pretty much for ourselves. I would say, maybe 50% of the time you can actually use what it says, but most of the time you're using it to like brainstorm ideas. Works pretty well. We're continuing to work on it. But this helps us. So we can kind of fly through comments, being able to comment on people's posts. All right, how are we doing on time? So we have one post. So one post a day. This is one of the hardest ones. I can't do it. I barely do a post a week, which, Jared, who co-founder, he's way better. He's doing a few posts a week. But posting's great. The main thing we usually say for posting is the goal is not necessarily to become an influencer right away. The goal is really to show you as an authority. Because again, your LinkedIn profile is going to be your landing page. Even if you just go Google your name and your company name, most likely your LinkedIn profile is the thing that pops to the top. So you want people to land on and see like, oh, Eric is talking about the thing that he says that he does, and it's really interesting, and he's sharing good points. A lot of what you want to do is really just like think of the questions that people are asking you and just answer them in posts. That's usually what I tell clients. And like, what do I write? And then focus on like, how do you get a good hook, and then how do you get a good CTA? And I have some examples, and we have. I have a link down here, and I have a link layer for like our entire playbook. So we have like 100 plus hooks. There's so many resources like how to write good posts on LinkedIn. So these are just some of mine that I grabbed. There were some of the top performers. Skimmable, make sure they're skimmable. Use emojis to kind of pull people's eyes in. Try and have good hooks. I think these one because I think they had some decent hooks. Because you only see the first line when you're scrolling through. You usually only see like the first line or two. So you want to make sure those count to get people to actually open it. This one I think was successful because I tagged Sam Brown, who I referenced earlier, because I literally was like highlighted how he set up his experience, and I highlighted how it was cool. He commented a few times, and then this one did a bunch. So I wouldn't try to necessarily tag people like crazy. But if you find like more of a micro influencer, someone who has maybe 10,000, 20,000 followers in your space, like those are good, especially if you can have a reason to tag them in it. And the goal is that they comment on it or like it, and it shows up in their feed, get more reach. But yeah, and then just basics. There's like a million, like you've probably seen them, like the algorithm of what to post on LinkedIn. There's a million like algorithm things. I'm not gonna list them all out here. The biggest ones is just don't include external links. And the LinkedIn has actually recently been hiding external links in comments. So the typical thing used to be, hey, I have this thing I want to share, and then you put your first comment as the thing you want to share that's external LinkedIn. LinkedIn has started hiding those comments, just so you know. So if you see them, other people aren't seeing them. Okay, and then this is the fun one, and then we can do questions. This one, I think this is what kind of sets apart a lot of the like players that we've been working with, is the LinkedIn retargeting ads on top of the engagement. So this is the one where it's like, how do you stay top of mind? I'm guessing since everyone here is growth people, then you're doing a lot of advice, and LinkedIn is LinkedIn's known to be expensive and hard to do. I would say cold, if you're going to go cold ads, just be ready to pay to learn. What we typically focus on is like, we'll do maybe a little cold if someone's interested, but what we focus more on is the retargeting. And this is kind of what we tell every client to set up, is like set up the retargeting so that someone visits your website, someone visits your company page, someone interacts within a single image ad. And then the one that really is amazing is once you build a contact list, if it's over 300 contacts, you can import that list into LinkedIn. As long as it finds a match, it needs to find at least 300 contacts in a match. It will then retarget to those people. So picture you have your buyer, you build a list of leads of 1,000 leads that you want to target. You're starting the whole process that we talked about before, like you're engaged with their content, you're building lists, you're sending out connection requests. But 2 weeks before that, you've uploaded that list of 1,000 people into LinkedIn, and you've been sending them retargeting ads. So they've already been prepared by either seeing your company logo, even your face, if you want to change the ads to your face. And I'll show. So they're starting to see your stuff already, so you become familiar. So it's a lot easier for them to be like, oh, I feel like I've been seeing your stuff everywhere. Obviously increases the chance of connections. So the ones that how we've been setting them up is really focus on text ads, sponsored posts, and single image ads. So I'll run through those. Here's actually an example campaign. So this is one we started 2 weeks ago. Probably the more fun stuff. So this one we started 2 weeks ago. These are just the retargeting ones. And this bottom one, which I'll show you another image, which it increased just within today, but since I took a screenshot, This bottom one was the sponsored post, which I'll show you what that is. The click-through rate on it and engagement rate on any of the ones we've done is ridiculous. So it's 10%. And if you don't know what that is, I'll show you in a second. The other one that we love because they're cheap are the text ads on LinkedIn. You don't, and actually this is the next one here. The text ads, you don't necessarily realize you see them, but they're one of the cheapest. It's like $2 for, what was it? 10,000 impressions. And that's actually, yeah, because I'm hiding some of these just in this list. One of them had like 60,000 impressions for like, I don't know, $10. So these show up. You'll once, now that you know them, you're like, oh yeah, they're there. And there's, the goal of this is really just to like have the brand recognizable so you see it, and they're super cheap, so you have them show up. It's really just brand awareness. So you focus on the brand awareness objective. And a lot of the, like for us, we tell clients, like, don't focus too much on the click-through rate on these. So it's not like, we're not trying to push, at least for us, what we do, we're not trying to push towards lead magnet. We're trying to push towards familiarity. So when you get into a DM or you get into a connection request, there's like a subconscious, like, oh, I feel like another person. That's what we're usually going for. So we'd rather pay for more ads to be seen versus to try to get someone into a lead magnet or trying to get some type of email. So these sponsored posts are pretty new, and I'm obsessed with them because they work great. And this is usually what I tell people, just go do these right now. So here's an example of Sarah, who we're running for right now. She has they do like super cool Shopify, like all the tech around Shopify, like super advanced stuff for really cool companies. So her story is easy to tell, and she already has a bunch of really cool brands like Supergoop and Noon and a bunch of cool ones. So you can see here in the list, you've probably seen them. You can see here in my feed, I think from this morning, I had to show up, and then it looks just like a normal post. And that's why these engage so well, or get so much engagement, because they just look like a normal post within your feed. The only thing you see is like promoted by gamma waves. Otherwise, you just want to make sure you have a great, and this is just a normal post. So we would have posted this on her feed already. And then we go into Sales Navigator, or Campaign Manager, and then we pick that post to sponsor. And you can do a bunch of them. So, a lot of them, it's like, we want to make sure, does it have a good hook? Does it have a good CTA? And then if they've already been having some posts, I think it's like 6 months worth of posts that you can see. Finding some that already had good engagement and boosting those. So you could throw in, 10, 20 of these posts just to see kind of which ones are performing. And see if you get more boosts. So the goal of these is really to get engagement for the person. So Sarah's CEO of the company. Obviously, again, she wants to be seen, build a brand. Ideally, people go to her profile and follow her, maybe try to connect with her because they like a post, engage with the company. Kind of the goal of these. And then the single image ads. So single image ads are fine. Like these are the ones, the same company. These are the ones we're running. These are just retargeting. So we're not even doing a lead objective. We're doing a brand awareness objective, but it's still getting like almost 5% click-through rate on some of these. And again, it hasn't been running very long, so we'll see how that runs out. But usually, any of the single ads, we want to focus on any social proof, handle objectives, and remove biases. And our examples are usually like big type. Have one, saying that you want to highlight and make sure the brand's present. Again, so if she starts reaching out, people start seeing her stuff, and they see it kind of everywhere after they've connected. And then this was another example of another company that we run for, and this was sort of the like not typical. This one performed really well because it's not your typical ad. It looks more like the Twitter post, the X post, and this one performed really well too. So it was sort of like a case study of sorts that link to a case study. I think that's it. So, tips, you just kind of have to like have a commitment. So commit, stay consistent, be disciplined, put time on your calendar to do it every day. And honestly, you're not like, when you're posting stuff, you're not going to get a lot of engagement if you don't have any followers, if you're just starting, but it's fine. Like there's so many people that still to this day are like, oh, I've been following your stuff forever. And we've had clients who are now clients, never liked anything, never commented on anything. They're just like lurkers. It's like view only people who are just kind of like around. So you kind of just like know that it works. And then we're all growth people. So it's like, test like crazy, try stuff. have a hypothesis on what you want to do. And then obviously like, hire people like us. We run it for companies of different sizes, founders of different sizes. And we just kind of are obsessed with kind of how LinkedIn's been working and kind of put all of our eggs in the LinkedIn basket at the moment because it's just been cool to see the power of it. I think that's it. Oh yeah, and then if you want to go to Outworks.io Academy, this is sort of this week. This is kind of living, breathing document. We're literally just like throwing stuff in there on as we learn it. But this is like literally our playbooks in there. A ton of resources, hooks, templates for stuff. Yeah, that's it. Otherwise, connect on LinkedIn. Forgot.
That was awesome. Thank you. That was so thorough. And I don't know, personally, like I talk to so many demand people we have a lot of people who are like at earlier stage companies right now. So I can totally say that's applicable, but just so many people who are like, we just need to drive more pipeline without spending more budget. And this is like such a powerful way to do that. So thanks for sharing. We're going to link all these resources in the community so people can go back to it as well. Questions? Anyone have questions, thoughts?
Have you done any advertising like with the audience network feature? I found that that's a really cheap channel as well, kind of like the text ads. And I'm curious what your results have been with it if you have.
We so far we've been sticking to like the focus lists of that we usually are uploading. So like we'll get targeted on our list. We've started testing some of like the because LinkedIn makes it so easy to push the button to be like expand your network with like the audience network.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean audience network. I meant like the publisher network that you can expand into when you do sponsored posts, like the display component.
Yeah, no, we haven't done that yet either because no, we haven't done it. So if you have examples, I'd love to see it too. We haven't tried it.
I kind of did it like with a target account list too, because I don't have very much money at all to spend. Very early stage. We don't even have a stage, we're a seed round, but kind of same deal. And I totally forgot about text ads. So I'm so excited to like get those going because you're right, those are like dirt cheap. And that's kind of how I like to use LinkedIn because like normal sponsored posts are just like for prospecting are bananas expensive and I will never have that much budget or the results to show that it's worth it. So I do it the same way. Like I try to do it for awareness and just have my logo as big as I can so that when the sales reps get on the phone, they have like some familiarity and they know who we are.
Mm-hmm. I'll definitely try because the cool thing is with all this, it's like we're testing stuff like crazy. And sometimes I forget what we're even testing. But I'll try with some of our accounts because some of our accounts have budgets, so sometimes it allows us to test some stuff a little bit more than we wouldn't be able to test on ourselves. So it's like, well, just throw a little bit of money over this just to see how it goes.
Have you guys done the thought leadership ads? I have not, and I'm super curious. You have, Chanel?
I was like thinking about, I was like, I think that's what he was posting about the sponsored content. I'm pretty sure those were the thought leadership ads, but I was glad to see that there was performance there because I'm actually launching some next week, which is interesting because it's like the CEO at our company, but he gets like ghostwriting posts. So then it's like I get to go to that agency and be like, this is exactly how I want it, which is nice because I can follow all these best practices. And then he posts and then I get to amplify. So it's a little like more, what is it? Sciencey because there's like a lot of stuff going into it. But I'm glad to see that those perform, especially with that kind of structure because I'm gonna copy that. All right.
The cool thing with those, if you do I can't the maximum. I can't think of the name of it. The maximum.
Maximum like cost or whatever. Or
yeah, you can throw in like
goals for your budget, whatever.
Yeah, you can throw in like 20 posts in there if you want to. So it's cool because LinkedIn then tries to guess which one's gonna kind of beat the rest of them. So if you can start with a small budget to see which one starts performing, then you can bump the specific one out of it if you want to, just as its own.
That's cool.
Brandon, I'm going to ask a question for people watching the recordings who might be in this situation because I feel like I've talked to a lot of people who are. We're demand gen directors and managers, and we're probably not going to be the people to be like posting, to be running this playbook, basically. So a two-part question. One, like, who are the best people to get to actually do this? Like, is it usually the founder of the company? Like, have you seen it work for salespeople as well? Because I'm assuming like just empowering AEs to do this would be super helpful way to drive incremental pipe. So that's the first part. And then the second is like, once it's the right person, there's oftentimes some pushback on like why people should spend time doing this. And I'm sure you have those conversations all the time. So do you have any tips or advice on like just how to convince people of the value of spending time kind of running this playbook?
Yeah. The first question, the more you can get, like the more people you can get within your company to build their own personal brand, it typically only leads back to the actual company brand. So if you can build, like the companies that are larger, if you can find people who are sort of your ambassadors within the company who kind of want to potentially build their own brand, find them within your company and then help, like support them, help them, like, because they're probably going to do it anyway, especially with a personal brand. Usually people get scared. So like, oh, they're going to be an influencer and they're going to quit the company, like maybe, but that's, you run that risk anyway, because they're probably going to do it anyway. So if you can support them to like teach them how to do it and post content about the company, it ends up just filtering into like the company. Limitless, who we use their tools, they're actually a very good example. It's like pretty much every leader within their company it's pretty much become an influencer, and you can tell they're very focused on like the product person talks about product stuff, all with the sale, like the sales kind of like growth person talks about growth stuff, and it's very good. And the person to run it is like, if you can get any executives on it, is going to be the best. The only thing that we usually would run into is like, we had one client that's like, they had recruiter, I think is the title, like, oh, we kind of want like this, like you're like BDR, like salesperson. The only problem with that is people will look at who's you want to engage with and connect with. So you kind of have to be mindful of the title. So we've actually tried switching title for people, because a lot of people are going to connect with the founder CEO before they're going to connect with like junior SDR. So you kind of, if you can get creative and the company's fine to be like, well, let's change that title to, ever change the title to growth. Let's change the title to growth. Like sales and covers anything. That's kind of, like you just want to have the highest probability the person's going to accept the request. But yeah, you would usually want to see like CEO. And then I would build a team around them, like if you can put the ghostwriter, is fine, like we ghostwrite for a bunch of people. Like you can put the ghostwriter in there, it's fine. Like having someone holding them accountable is fine. Like we do a lot of comments for people. Like we do a lot of the ghostwriting for people. And a lot of the stuff we even do is just preparing it for the person. So we have some founders, CEOs who we don't actually do the writing, but we'll like give them a bunch of ideas. We'll kind of prep stuff, and then they go through and give the final edit. Comments, like the list I showed with the showing who to engage with. We'll like prepare. Here's all the people we think we think you should comment on. Here's some suggestions for all the posts we think you should post. So they get to control their brand, because a lot of people are worried about like, oh, are you going to post something weird, or wrong? So I would say the higher like executive level you can get it, the more people you can get, the better. Just get creative on their titles, or have them specific within the like industry, like just have a plan around it. And then what was the other question? What was
Just
the other
like
part
how
to
to
it?
convince people of the value of doing this.
Yeah, so usually it's easy enough to be like, it's LinkedIn, the numbers are there, the stats are there, people are having conversations on it. And I think when we start showing that it's not just like a social network, and you can put discipline around it, and you can put like, you're going to send emails, you're going to send cold emails, and that's going to take effort. LinkedIn has a higher chance that you have a real connection because people see a real face. Email is easy to blow it away. Like, just send me an email. I have no idea who she is, blow it away. But if you connect with me on LinkedIn, I see who you are. I can dig in a little bit more. It's more interesting. So that's usually how it's like, structured, of like, you already warm up that conversation a little bit, probably more thawing, I'd call it, than like warm. And then you get tactics to make it even warmer. So you have a higher likelihood that the person's going to connect and have a conversation.
Sweet. Yeah, makes sense. Super tactical question that I had. you talked about grabbed a list of people who changed jobs recently, and then you scraped all the company names and you re-imported. What did you use to scrape the companies from that list?
We did, that one was, so we'll use two usually. And that one was so we either use Fanabuster, which is a great job of like scraping, like they're pretty good on getting what you need. Apollo has a scraper built in the Chrome extension, but the one with Apollo, you have to go through and manually do every page. So you do like 20 at a time, which is a pain. Fanabuster, you just give it a link and it'll go scrape it. So those are the two we usually use. So that was probably it. We will do a more advanced stuff. Like we did one where we scraped like the whole list of AWS's like partner program for a client because they wanted to reach out to them. So we just use like a Chrome screen scraper, which can't remember the name. I think I have it down somewhere. Can't remember the name of it, but it's just like the most popular one. And then we've also used tools, which we use a lot actually for gamma waves. We did N8N, if you're familiar with N8N. So it's like you can kind of build, instead of coding, you can kind of have it do automated stuff. So we have an example where it's like we give it a Google sheet of websites, and then the website URLs, it then goes and scrapes all those website URLs, and then have it connect to OpenAI, and it'll take all of the pretty much the copy from it, and it'll ask it prompts. So the prompt was, is it using recharge? Because the whole point was like, do they have a subscription model? So we have 200 websites, ecom websites, have it scrape if they're using recharge, just buy if they have the word recharge in the scripts. And then we have a list of people who aren't using recharge. So now we have a target list. And so that's like all automated. So you will just crank in URL. So that starts getting even more advanced on kind of the scraping that we'll do to them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember talking to someone who's doing like probably the best cold outbound person I've talked to, and they were like, you just figure out what the best message is that you would send that's as manual as possible and as relevant and curated as possible, and then just like work backwards to see what you can automate from that, which is like a super interesting. And you're doing a bunch of cool stuff, so keep us posted. Like the vdo.io thing is super interesting, so that's awesome. Any other questions from anyone? I think we just got Jess and Chanel on the call now.
That was awesome, Brandon. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Connect with you on LinkedIn. Keep up to date.
For
Keep
sure.
it posted on what's working.
Sounds good. Thank you.